Hi everyone, my name is Felicia Long and today I'm going to be giving a short presentation on symbolism. So before I begin, let me share my screen here. Let's see. Okay, awesome. So then I will go here. Before I start and get into the lesson for my kiddos, I would first ask them, activating prior knowledge conversation and say, okay, so what are some things that we already know about symbolism? Have you experienced it in the past? Have you had teachers talk about it? What do you think it is? And we would just have that short, mini building conversation, activating prior knowledge. And then from there, I feel like that would be a great segue for me to go into my slide. So this is where I'd like them to start taking notes. And, let's see. Okay, cool. And I would start with the definition. What is symbolism? The definition I have provided is a literary device in which a writer uses a person, an object, or a phenomenon to represent an abstract meaning. And I know that can be kind of a heavy definition, especially if this is their first time, talking about symbolism, but we're going to break it down. So the way that I would try to first start to explain it is very basic and say, symbols can be thought of as, something small, just as an example to start off. It can be something small and the overall arching meaning is greater than what the symbol is. So it's an abstract meaning or concept, which usually can be associated with things like themes. So an example would be love or coming of age or justice or freedom. These are values. These are items that are not, or I'm sorry, not items. They are conversations and ideals that are not something that you can identify with your five senses. These are discussions and conversations, and they have all of these different details to them. And so they're quite heavy. And so symbols in literature are definitely really helpful for us as readers and also for the author to do some creative things. So yeah, and that's another thing is that symbolism can be up to the author as well as the reader. And sometimes it's open for interpretation. A lot of times, actually, they're not just going to come right out and say, this is a symbol for this, And that's what makes literature fun and unique. And it also is what makes symbolism kind of intimidating when you're first learning about it. So don't worry, we're going to break it down. So why does symbolism matter to you as a student? If you think about it, we definitely use symbols every single day, and these are objects in our daily lives and they stand for a function, or maybe they actually have a function. So an example would be the stoplight that is right underneath me here. And, if we're a driver, we see this every day on the road, and that gives you actual direction, what you need to do as a driver when you're in your vehicle, if you need to stop, slow down, or go. And then we have the colors associated with them. But if we're talking in a class and maybe we're reading a text and our character kind of seems, stuck in life or unsure of like what they want to do, where they want to go, if a stoplight is mentioned and that's the description of our character situation, maybe the author could be using the stoplight as a symbol to represent, maybe our character needs to achieve their dreams and just go for it in life. So the green light, or maybe they need to stop and be present and in the moment. So the red light, or yellow, maybe they need to slow down and take it all in. So that's an example as of symbolism and how we can use something that we use in our everyday lives to, refer it to, and something like that. So another example would be money. We have the money sign right here. And usually in our culture, we think of, oh, that's a dollar amount, or maybe we think of an actual dollar bill or a coin. But the money sign can also symbolize greater issues like poverty or wealth. I don't know if wealth is necessarily an issue, but there are some issues with it. So, if we're reading into a text and a money sign is represented somewhere in there, you can take that sign and the overarching meaning is greater. It's bigger than what it is. So again, symbolism should be important to you because we do use it in our everyday lives. Not in a text, but definitely, maybe on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. It has meaning. All right, so now you might be wondering, how do I identify symbols if there are no images? Because, English class, we don't really use too many graphic novels around here. So this is where our analysis skills come in. And it definitely helps to think like a detective when you're looking for identification of symbols in your text. And what do detectives do? They pay attention to detail, they look at clues, and in our case, it's going to be context and literary clues here. And remember that sometimes symbols are open to you as the reader for your interpretation. So you have to take what you see, and you got to go for it. You got to be confident in what you're looking for, so that way you get your own evidence and your own support. Because if you're going to be writing an essay on it, or giving a presentation, you have to be confident and thorough with what you already see in the text. So now I'm going to give you a list of clues, and it would probably be helpful if you write them down, just because it will give you an idea of what to look for in a text. And some of these clues can include colors, like we talked about with the stoplight, weather, so maybe it's gloomy outside in our text and we're feeling a little emotional, a little on the sad side, or loneliness or despair. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's sunny and we're feeling, optimistic and happy and confident. So weather can also have a symbolic meaning to it as well. The overall setting, shapes. I don't know, an example could be like a circle. Maybe we're running around in circles, or maybe something is never ending, or we're referring to like the circle of life. So shapes can be symbolic. Repetition, if you see something more than once in a text, it's probably significant. So keep out for symbols and repetition. Power structures are definitely symbolic in their own ways. The most, common example would be like a crown. Clearly that's like an accessory that, we see individuals holding power put on their head, and that's a representation of their authority. So power structures and power in general can have very strong symbols associated with them. If your character has an associated emotion towards an object, probably symbolic. Common symbols, which I will get to in another slide, and then cultural symbols and meanings. So these are different artifacts that are significant within different cultures. And we might have to identify them, in class together, because not everyone is familiar with, different cultures. But, those are definitely things to pay attention to, because they have meaning as well. So remember to just take notes, highlight if you can highlight your text as you read, because it will definitely help. And yeah, sometimes you can't connect the dots until after you've read the entire text, and it definitely helps to have those notes as a reference to go back. An example of symbols in popular films, I have Frozen here as my first one. We have Elsa represented on the top and the bottom. And in the first photo, she has her hair nice and tight, pulled back, she had just come back from her coronation. So, and then as she's singing Let It Go, she lets down her hair, she has a costume change, she's looking more confident. So her physical appearance in this situation is a symbol in itself of letting go of who she, everyone thought she was supposed to be, to who she actually is, and, embracing that. In the upper right-hand corner, we have Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer. Captain America's shield is representative of America, which is usually associated with, themes like freedom, justice, all of that fun stuff. And then we have Thor's hammer, which is representative of worthiness, or maybe godliness or strength. And then the bottom right, we have Harry Potter, which is super popular. And his scar is representative of, it's not just a physical attribute that he has, but it is also representative of the boy who lived, or the only known person to have gone away from Voldemort himself. So these are all symbols that you can actually see in popular films. So some common symbols in literature, I have on the left here in general, and on the right I have examples. So we have fire. Fire's super popular, especially if you've seen or read Hunger Games. It's very prominent. The color white, so maybe like in a wedding dress, like purity or the new beginning, or I don't know, love can also be representative in white as well. Logos, as in like crests or symbols themselves. So like the Harry Potter houses all have their own crests and symbols, and those are representative of characteristics of each individual within the houses. Animals like doves or lambs, we have peace and innocence. Trinkets, like actual, elements, like in Lord of the Rings, you have the ring, or like in Pocahontas, her necklace is symbolic. So now we have a little practice here. This is, I'll now address the English 131 class as my colleagues. But if you want to get out your smartphone and scan the QR code really quick here, I only have a couple more seconds. This is a practice I would love to do with my kids, and it's called Padlet. And I have already completed a couple of them, and I would just have them come on here, and it's set up like an Instagram, so they can come down to this add button and compose their own title. They can also write a description, and then they can go onto the website or the internet, and then they can add their own visuals. And so this is a great way to get them engaged with the symbolism aspect, with the visual element. And the way that it's formatted in an Instagram, way is also quite appealing, I think. So I would have them say, okay, we're going to start with something simple. When you think of a rose, what are some elements that you think of? What are some things that are representative of it? So I have a couple of them done because I knew I was going to run out of time. But if you want, if you're logged in, you can also add your own at the bottom to it as well. So Padlet is an awesome tool. But other than that, this is all I have for the presentation. Thanks so much for listening to me. And yeah, that's it.